Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey Spiros. Hi Hyder. Good day Nick. How you doing? I think I have everything sorted. Hi Ola. Should be working well. Okay. We'll give it a couple of minutes before we get started. Hey Angel Case. What? Does it sound fuzzy? Is that a little bit better, Hyder? I'm gonna try something. Just let me know if this might be better for you guys. Right. How's it now? Does it sound better now? Or is there no difference at all? No difference. Okay. Okay, we'll figure that out. You still hear the fans though? It's my laptop overworking. Good morning, Jennings. How are you doing? Thank you, Diana. TradingView is good. Oh, okay. So TradingView guys are hearing me nice and clear without the fan. Everyone else on YouTube is probably hearing some windiness. We'll try and figure that one out. JMB was on the wrong link. It's okay. You got the right link right now. Hey Stefan, how you doing? Alrighty. Hey Goju, how you doing? Alrighty, so let's get started again. Thank you all for joining me on this daily market analysis. Good to have you all here. If you are new to the stream, do drop a message, say hi, let me know where you're joining from. If at any point in time, either the regulars or anyone who is new to the session have any trading related questions, please feel free to put it into the chat. Let me know, questions about the markets or any particular pairs you'd like me to look into. Do put it in. I would be happy to address that. Max quality was 720, previous was higher. I'll see what we can do on that. So during this daily market analysis, which I've been doing now for a couple of months already, we look at the fundamentals in terms of where's the big news that just happened. We did see the RBNZ with their dovish rate hike. So we look at the fundamentals and do a review of that. We also had an hour before this session today, we did see the UK with the CPI number dropping quite significantly, not having that move that I expected, but also presenting very good opportunities for you guys. And then we look into the fundamentals in terms of what else is coming up. All right, we do have the FOMC meeting minutes to be released much later today as well. Then with that, we look into technicals in terms of where is price, how it could move, where it could trade towards. With that combined, we look for some possible trade setups. Okay, if you haven't already, do click that thumbs up button, do click that rocket ship button on TradingView, give me a like and a follow. I'm sure it helps with the algorithm, helps the video get found by more people, so that you can also take this discussion beyond this 1 hour session into the trading community. The link is there for you guys. It is free to join, absolutely will be kept free as well, so do make sure that you join up, sharing your trade ideas, any questions you have. I will also be sharing with you my trade ideas, any trades I get into when I get out of the trade, or that kind of stuff. All right, hey Jamil, how are you doing? Good to see you again, Digital Business. And Reza, nice to see you here on TradingView. So with that, just a quick disclaimer. Any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. Please do your own due diligence, because the contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. Your objectives, financial situation, and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Okay, we do have, or I have been seeing quite a number of opportunities playing out or setting up as well. So I think this session will be quite interesting. So with that, let's look into the news. Since we spoke yesterday, we did have a whole bunch of PMI numbers being released. We saw all that. We saw the US manufacturing PMI, flash manufacturing PMI being released at 48.5. It was 50, oh well, it was 50.2, got revised down from 50.4, expected 50. So it did breach into that, what's that word? That contractionary phase slightly, as we expected. And also we kind of expected that services PMI was going to have that mixed number. Didn't expect it to come out at 55, just thought maybe a little bit higher. So we did have a red and a green number, a bit of a mixed data there overnight. JC Jeb, YouTube video on YouTube doesn't seem to be playing. I think it's the link that you might be on. I think there was a different link. So do, you know, JC, if you are checking out YouTube, this might be a different link there. Okay. So that's the manufacturing PMI numbers that we saw on the from last night, and because of that, that was at 9:45 p.m. GMT +8. What we saw there was that retrace, that mixed data, saw that dollar index retrace down from that top that we identified there, so at about that 103.65 level, back down. Okay, came back down to that trend line, bounced back up, still fluctuating along this range. Now again showing some upside potential again, right? Possible upside potential. With that, then early this morning, hey Dianella, good to see you here. Early this morning, 10 a.m. GMT +8, possibly very early for you guys. We did have the RBNZ with their interest rate decision, as expected, taking it from 5.25, 25 basis point rate hike to 5.5%. Okay, but in this case, they did a 25 basis point rate hike. What we actually saw was on the Kiwi dollar. This was the news release right there at 10 a.m. Right as it released, it shot straight down, right? And even after the news, couple of hours after that, did continue down to that 0.6140 level. Now showing some retracement, but I do think that we might see a further continuation to the downside. So why did it drop so significantly? In fact, it went down by a total of 100, almost 110 pips, right? Almost 110 pips to the downside. Why? It is really because if you look at the headlines on the monetary policy statement, that the RBNZ is likely to remain constrained spending, inflation pressures, OCR will remain restrictive for the foreseeable future, but there was an indication that the RBNZ could see cash rate peaking at 5.5 where they are right now, and could cut rates in the third quarter next year, right? I think looking at the data as well, or looking at the projections, they even thought of a possibility that it could get to 5.8%, but it is approaching that key level. It is approaching that peak, right, at 5.5 to 5.8, factoring in the chance that we could see rate cuts come as early as the third quarter next year. So that's why we're seeing that big push to the downside on the Kiwi dollar. Another reason as well was that they were predicting negative GDP growth in Q2 and Q3 of this year, right? So negative GDP, bad for the Kiwi dollar, or bad for the Kiwi. That's why we're seeing the Kiwi dollar drop that significantly, almost 110 pips to the downside, with further downside potential, possibly to that 0.61 level. Beyond that, we're going to see almost like a free fall to the downside, but we'll talk more about that shortly. Alright, so far so good. Put into the chat, let me know if it's working out for you guys. You understand RBNZ. We were chatting quite intensely in the trading community during that news release, right? It was news release, and I had a straddle, took a stop on my buy, I didn't take a stop, cancelled my buy, and then had that sell to the downside. Through the day, I have been scalping and trading the Kiwi dollar down together with the Aussie dollar as well. So big downside so far, mostly on the Aussie and the Kiwi dollar. And you even see it here just in the summary on Forex Factory. Kiwi dollar down 102 pips. Everything else was pretty much slow. US CAD and the yen just popped up over the last couple of hours. The Aussie dollar also has been trading to the downside. Thanks for that, Haida. Well done, Diana. Thank you. Okay, so with that, 2 p.m. we did see the UK CPI year on year. It was a 10.1%. Finally, the CPI for the UK has broken through that 10% level. It has been sticky at 10% since December last year, right? Holding, refusing to drop, and right now we have seen, we had an early insight on this during yesterday's monetary policy report hearings, where they were indicating that they expect the CPI to drop, or inflation to slow down quite significantly. So what we actually saw was that 8.7%. It was expecting 8.2. I think Buba was asking about this in the group before the news. He's like, what do you think is going to happen on the CPI number? It was, I think 8.2 was very optimistic. Dropping from 10.1 to 8.2 would be significant. 8.7 was possibly that fair number or fair data to have received, or to have received that fair data. Okay, what we saw here with that was on the pound dollar. Right on that news release, we saw that big spike to the upside. Right, it was at 1.2436, shot up to 1.2469 or 1.2470. Couldn't sustain the move to the upside, also because of that level there. Right, also because of what we saw, those tops there. So it came up, tested that level, and then shot, retraced back down, and now looking like further downside potential, driven not just because of the CPI number, but that possible dollar strength, recovery of that dollar strength to the upside. Okay, so that was the news so far. What we do have coming up is the Bank of England Governor Bailey speaking at the Net Zero Delivery Summit. I don't think this will be the big price mover. Again, Governor Bailey is speaking a lot today. Inflation and the economy at the Wall Street Journal CEO Council Summit. This might at 9 p.m. GMT plus 8, it might have some impact on the pound dollar, given that we just had the CPI, which is an inflationary number, released earlier today. So I think that there might be some correlation to that, there might be some comments to that, which could drive possibly the pound dollar lower again. Good morning, Emlita, how are you doing? So with all that, next up we do have the FOMC meeting minutes to be released 2 a.m. GMT plus 8. I would love to see some comments in the minutes indicating a possible pause on or indicating the likelihood or the intention to pause on further rate increases. I don't think that's going to come out very strongly, so I don't think this is going to be a big price mover. Might have some volatility to it, but I don't think it will be a big directional push. All right, a directional push. So with that, then GDP tomorrow, I'll tell you more about that during tomorrow's session. So with that, looking at the charts, the dollar index, 24th of May. 24th of May. The dollar index is currently trading at 103.50, just at 103.50. Yesterday when we spoke about this, we did anticipate it would come up here, test, bounce back down and push up. Pretty much move in that similar fashion, just a little bit exaggerated to the downside. I do think that for today, we might very likely see the dollar index push up towards that 104 level. Okay, but for it to push up to 104, what needs to happen is it does need to break above this previous high, right? Only if it can break above this level, and I think it's near enough that it's not very hard for it to break. It's at 103.55 right now. That level there is 103.65. So I think it's on the way. It's quite likely to do that and push up towards 104, right? 103.99 or 104. With the way that it had tested once, big retrace, tested twice, slightly smaller retrace, I don't think that this time round it's going to retrace. I think that if it does break, we might see a big strong surge or big strong spike upwards. All right, so again, what it means is that we're looking at strength pushing to 104 resistance level. Okay, so we're looking at the strength on the dollar index to push up towards that 104 resistance level. That would mean that right across the board we should be expecting that dollar strength to come into play. Then looking at the Kiwi dollar, it's still dropping, right? It's still dropping, zooming right out. I was writing something up. Yeah, so 106, you can see that it is approaching this level. I know the chart looks terrible, do that, but it is approaching that 106 support area. All right, it's currently at 106.36. 106 as a round number is well within reach. So I think that we could identify this point. Right now, if you are looking to sell on the Kiwi dollar, I would say that unless you are scalping, right, unless you're doing very short-term trades, probably wait out and see what happens at 106 before looking to sell down. Right, I'm still looking for that dollar strength, still looking for it to sell down. I don't think Unless we see a big retrace on the dollar index, I don't think we're going to see the Kiwi dollar bounce. Okay, so what we're looking for is a reaction along this support level, looking for a breakout to the downside. And if it breaks that support, how far down can it go? Looking at it on the H4 time frame. In fact, I'll take a couple of this away later. Oh, let's do it now. Taking all these away. Given that if it does break below this support level, then why I was saying earlier that we could see big massive downside, the next major level, right, there is a little bit at 6066, but the major support level would be at 0.5843. Okay, bear in mind this is on the H4 time frame, right? So it looks like not a lot of other moves to the downside. If we did this as an interim level, maybe you could consider that 50% on the thinking of it as H1 time frame. So now if we go swing back to the H1, and then what you could be looking for here, I know I'm messing the charts around a little bit, but just bear with me. You could be looking for downside. So if you wanted to sell right now, then you would just be thinking that, all right, selling at about 6135. Stop loss would be a bit iffy. I don't like this because the stop loss is going to be a bit iffy on where to have a stop loss, with that support level there providing possibly quite a strong support. Okay, so I'll be looking for it to break down 6095, stop loss 20 to 25 pips, take profit could be down to 70 pips to the downside. Comes down to this level, if we do see significant strength, then on the dollar index we could see that continue, but I think in the short to medium term that would be a reasonable target level to start off with. Okay, so Kiwi dollar looking to sell 6095, 25 pip stop loss, 70 pip take profit. Okay, so Kiwi dollar sell 0.6095, 25 to 70, 0.6095, stop loss 25, take profit 70. So we're just looking for that continuation to the downside on the Kiwi dollar. All right. I do know that many of you did jump into the trade on the Kiwi dollar, right? Was holding that previous trade and also traded the news. So if you did trade the Kiwi dollar to the downside, put it into the chat, let me know. I do like to find out. So that's the Kiwi dollar showing the downside, and you all know correlation between the Kiwi and the Aussie is very strong. So as the Kiwi dollar drops, we do see the Aussie dollar drop as well. So we did see that bounce. It was actually getting quite interesting late last night as we came down to that support level. I was just thinking, and even early this morning I was just thinking whether it's going to bounce, but the news on the Kiwi dollar dragged the Aussie down as well. So this counter trend trade did not trigger, and in fact we saw the Aussie drop now well into that support level, right? Well into that support level of 0.6567 and 0.6580. Again, very similar to the Kiwi dollar is that if it does break this support, then we could be looking for further downside, and in this case 0.65 as a round number. 0.65 as a round number would be a reasonable target level. Okay, so what you could be looking for here on the Aussie, dollar strength, further weakness on the Kiwi dollar could drive the Aussie down. So 6560, stop loss maybe about 20-25 pips again. Take profit would be at about 50 to 60 pips or 55 pips there, right down to the next support level of 0.65. Kegusi said, traded the Aussie while I watched the Kiwi go down, was so numb, could not move to get in. So I think you traded the Aussie down, so that's good. If you didn't manage to catch the Kiwi, at least you caught the Aussie. I was actually selling both the Kiwi and the Aussie down. I'm still on the Kiwi dollar since the news. Very good angel case. I think that you would be in almost 100 pips to the downside already, so that's good. Hyder said, I put a buy order and sell order 12 pips on both sides. When the news hit, I made some profit but closed after 2 minutes. Yeah, the 12 pips was a bit too narrow, but that's what we call a straddle, so that was a good move as well. So especially when you see, referring back to the Kiwi, before the news, zooming in a little bit, that consolidation, right? That consolidation really played quite nicely for that potential to enter as a straddle. You would have your buy order to the upside, your sell order to the downside there. You know, catching either an upside move or downside, you could always cancel the other trade out. Jen B said, why would you trade both Kiwi and Aussie instead of having a bigger size on one? Well, I was scalping both the Aussie and the Kiwi, so I didn't want to oversize or trade bigger on one. Keeping the same lot size, I just entered both or tried to trade both to the downside or scalped it to the downside. Alright, so in case if one bounces or if I got it wrong on one, Kiwi was pretty much confident, I don't like using the word confident, but pretty much confident that it would trade down. I was just trying to catch other moves as well. Okay, so back to the Aussie victory, I would say, what's the currency pairs? So right now it's Aussie dollar to the downside, 6560. 6560, 25 pip stop loss, 55 pip take profit. Hi Diggs, by the way, 7, good to see you. So 0.6560, stop loss 25, take profit 55. Looking for that continuation to the downside. Angel case, given that you're still in that trade, I would say that it looks good to come down to that support. I would suggest that might want to close out the trade at the support, right? Might want to close out the trade there, might bounce a little bit before trading back down again. So just watch that trade as it gets to that 6-1 round number support level. If Aussie is done, will Euro Aussie buy? Okay, I'll check that later after we've gone through the Euro dollar as well. Yen, no particular updates. I'm still waiting. I saw the yen at, I think at that point, at that midday point here, when it was trying to push up, I thought, could this be a good place to buy? Didn't get into it. I was still focused on the Aussie and the Kiwi. Traded down a little bit, now pushed back up. Still not ready for that big upside potential, but it is coming around, right? We are looking for the yen to continue trading up. I would still maintain this view that above 1.39, 139, stop loss 25, take profit 83 or even 90 pips to the upside to that 140 resistance, round number resistance level. Okay, so I'm still looking for that move on the US yen. Very crucially, it does need to break above that point, which is that dotted line there. So it needs to break above, continue to the upside, then we could be looking for that big move up. Okay, so US yen, I would maintain the view. I would say that take profit would be about 90, buy above 139, stop loss 25, take profit 90. That's relatively straightforward. I do think that this, or I'm quite keen on this, given that we are expecting that dollar index to push strongly to the upside. Okay, then pound dollar. Big push up, tested that interim resistance. Can take all these away for now. And that as well. Coming back down. I would say that this is a very safe entry there. If it does break, let me just check this trend line. It's kind of a weak line now, so I'll take that away. I don't like that trend line anymore. I like that it's tested these levels, big shoot down. What you could be looking for here on the pound dollar, it does need to come down a little bit more. Okay, I think we can take this away. So it's tested these levels, trading down. What I would be looking for is for the pound dollar to trade down to that 1.2353 support level, right? And we see that from the 18th, the 11th and the 18th of April, with possibly a bit of hesitation at 1.3580. You could be looking for, if it does break below this 1.24, I would like to say 1.24 as a round number. Right? If it does break below this 1.24 as a round number, then you could be looking to sell the pound down, say about a 40 pip take profit, 20 pip stop loss. I'm having it a little bit higher just because this is not, as much as a round number, it's not a very strong level. So I'll be looking at maybe 1.2395, a 20 pip stop loss, 40 pip take profit to the downside towards that support level. Okay. Yeah. So sell 1.2395, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the downside. Right? So talking about the pound dollar, then checking the pound yen, totally this is offset, or this is invalidated already. I'm not looking for this move to the downside. I think that if it does break, this was a resistance, a round number level of 172. Right? If it does break back down, then the first move, pound dollar dropping significantly, you could see this push down. You could be looking for the pound yen to sell 171.90, take profit 68, almost 70 pips. Stop loss could be quite tight at about 30 pips, right? About 30 pips for the pound dollar once it breaks below that previous, that near-term low, right? So it breaks below that point, 171.90, down to that, down to this confluence of levels, all those previous swing lows there. we could see that move on the pound yen. If that continues, then we could see further downside. But I think for now, if it does break, then that's a reasonable trade on the pound yen. But it's not that big counter trend trade, so I'll take away this not very high on the watch list. That's another trade there. Okay, then next up is the euro dollar. Okay, euro dollar, what you see is that it has been holding this level of 1.076, almost 1.0760, has been holding very strong. This other point we can take away for now, right? So the last time last week, bounced off this level back up, came down again, now bounced off this level back up again. So that was the euro dollar that we spoke about yesterday. I think this trend line would still hold. Okay, that still works there. That still works to the downside there. So that downward trend line is still holding prices, capping that upside potential. But what is forming now is that there is a little bit of a double bottom forming. Okay, a little bit of a double bottom forming. While I do think that the downside potential is there for the euro dollar, if we see that big significant push on the dollar index. If on the other hand, on the flip side, if this retraces, breaks past and has that big retracement down, right? If that has a big retracement down, then a reasonable thing to consider for the euro dollar is that it would be breaking above this 1.0790 support turned resistance. We could see it trade back up. So this is an alternate view. I think that this will be the trend following scenario. Let's put it in there. Alright, this will be the trend following scenario, but I think that what could also be something to consider is for this push up as a counter trend, could be looking to buy 1.08 30 pip with about a 15 counter trend, so tight stop at about 15 pips, breaking above that trend line, breaking above that resistance. We could see a 30 pip move to the upside. Could also, in that, if it does break above that resistance, could result in a more sustained move to the upside. But I think with a double bottom forming, with that level providing that resistance, we could be looking for first move and then maybe a continuation up. Okay, so oops, take that away. Euro dollar as a bit of a counter trend idea, we could be looking to buy it up from 1.08, 15 pip stop, 30 pip take, maybe even develop into a bigger move. Buy from 1.08, stop loss 15, take profit 30. Okay, could develop further. You guys know what I mean. Okay, makes sense so far, all good. Yusuf is typing something, don't know why. Okay, alright, that makes sense. Okay, sorry, let me just do something. Okay, hope that stopped it. Oh good, thank you. Now So looking at the euro dollar possibly bouncing back up, looking at the Aussie dollar, anticipating further downside potential at the support level there. Then as someone was asking, forgot who. As Ola was asking on the Euro Aussie, right, it's broken, so I'll just clear out all this. Alright, so that didn't happen. I think that was from quite long ago. We haven't spoken about the Euro Aussie for a while. Broken above that resistance, big upside push. Why is it pushing up? It's really because of that Aussie dollar weakness that we've seen apply, and then the euro dollar possibly finding some upside from that double bottom. So now breaking above, given that it's broken above that 1.635 resistance. Question was, will it go down? Doesn't seem like a retracement or correction to the downside is likely. I think that we're possibly going to see it continue higher. Looking at this 38.2, it is breaking over that 38.2 level. I think that we could very well see the Euro Aussie climb towards that 61.8 level, which is just at that 1.65 round number level. Okay, so I do think that we might see a breakout of that resistance. We could see this continue up towards 1.65. Hope I answered your question there, Ola, on the Euro Aussie. Looks like it might, if the euro dollar does push up, that could drive the Euro Aussie higher. Aussie dollar finding some support at this point, so euro dollar getting stronger could pull the Euro Aussie up. Then the US Swiss franc bounced off that trend line to the upside. We were looking for a continuation to the upside. It ran up a little bit before coming back down, so you would have likely hit your stop loss if you did get into that trade. Right now, dollar index retracing still at that 103.50 range. I think that looking at this, it could. Okay, so we have this. This is something interesting that's forming. Right, checking right across. Okay, looks like it could come back down a little bit before pushing back up. I was going to say that we should expect further upside, but I think with the way the euro dollar is moving, with the way the dollar index is retracing a little bit, sitting along this level, I think that what we could see on the US Swiss franc is a retrace to test that 0.9 level before trading up again. Alright, so this is also resistance turns support. So with that, if it does come down, look and see what happens along that support level for it to bounce back up. Okay, and it's not unreasonable. It's 0.9015. Could trade up. Okay, so what you could be looking for here is a buying opportunity, whether it retraces or whether it just sits there and breaks through. You could be looking at 9025. No, 9030, just to be extra safe. Needs to break that previous high. take profit about 35 pips. Stop loss, I would have it tight, no more than 20 pips just below that trend line. I don't think you have to put it all the way down there. If you're 1:1, it's still reasonable, but I think if it breaks above that trend line, you could have your stop loss at about 15 pips for that upside move. Okay, makes sense. So 0.9030, stop loss 15, take profit 35. So buy 0.9030, stop loss 15, take profit 35. Okay, good stuff. And again, guys, remember, do help me out, click that like and subscribe button if you're finding this session useful, helpful for your trading. Do help me out, click that little rocket ship button on TradingView, and if you're on YouTube, do click that like button. We are streaming across several different platforms, so if you are watching us on any other platforms, do leave a comment and let me know that you're on there as well. Okay, then the US CAD has been reacting very nicely to that trend line, right? Not ready yet. I'll still hold this same view. It is right in the middle, that resistance turned support level, right? It is at a very dangerous, so at this point you might feel like, oh, I'm going to buy, it's time to buy. It's been moving up so strongly over the last 2 hours from 1.35, now at 1.3540. Not the time to buy, not the time to buy, because we do have that previous high from yesterday, right? It is right at that point. It could, in the next 10 minutes, sit at this point and retrace back down. One thing it could do, and also because we do have that other previous high at 1.357, almost 1.3570, that we saw a big reaction. So I'll still hold the same analysis as previous, where on the US CAD I'll only be looking to buy if it does continue trading up. 1.3580, 20, 30 pip stop loss, 60 pip take profit to the upside on the US CAD. Alright, so of that view still holds. US CAD buy 1.3580, stop loss 30, take profit 60. Okay, and then next up, if you guys have no other question, next up will be gold. Right, we were looking, this was on Tuesday, at that equal low. We were thinking that it could break. If it does break to the downside, we're going to see a big move. Didn't. In fact, it bounced off this level, came back up to that 1974, almost 1975 level. Right, at this point, I think that dollar sitting right there, I think that we could see this bounce. It's just in this range. I don't have there's no clear directional bias on gold at this point. I think what needs to happen, what we're seeing here at this hour, is we need this move to form up properly. What I mean by form up properly is that if it does break down from 1970, then you could be looking for it to again test 1954, forming a triple bottom. Why I'm hesitant on saying that it could shoot up is because that would mean we should anticipate big downside on the dollar index, which seems a bit unlikely for now. And then also because it came close, right? We do have a previous high of 1984. and then again at 1980, and has been retracing from those levels. So I think that as much as it could look like it's going to try to go up, I think that we are looking for possibly that downside move. Okay, so on the summary, I would say that you would be look for reaction along, or price action, sorry, price action along the 1970 support level. 1970 level could trade down to 1954. Okay, all good, all good. Any questions so far? Any other questions? Oops, no, go back there. Then looking at a few other pairs. Euro yen, not doing too much. We can take that away. Just doing a quick review of what we were speaking about yesterday. Aussie yen, big strong drop, right? So this was what we were looking for on the Aussie yen from yesterday, as it breaks below that 38.2 and also that 91.23 level, right? And that trend line, Aussie yen, is showing that downside potential, so that's working out quite nicely. Thank you, Gorju. Thanks, M Leader. So with all that said, keeping it quite short and sharp, because I am looking at the way prices are moving, right? Continuing with that downside, I do want to look to jump into a couple more trades. I think the pound dollar is forming up quite nicely. Kiwi dollar coming to that support. Aussie dollar looks like it's going to break that support, so could be looking to sell the Aussie dollar to the downside quite soon. US yen is still a waiting game. Pound dollar, just a couple more minutes, could break this level for that quick trade, 40 pips to the downside. Euro dollar, maybe still might is. So what you notice here is the euro dollar is showing some strength to push up, while everything else is following the dollar strength coming down. So there is a little bit of a break in correlation. US Swiss franc looks like it might come down to bounce back up. You could even be looking for a bit of an earlier entry if it does come down and bounce, but I think the safer one will be about there. And then US CAD, don't rush into it. It is at that danger zone right now. It does need to break above for that upside potential. Okay, so far so good. So if you haven't already, the link is there again. Do join the trading community. Let's take our chat and conversations from here to the trading community. Until I see you tomorrow, please trade well, trade safe. We'll catch up in the trading community. And bye-bye for now. Thanks, JMB. Thanks, K Gusi. Thanks, M Leader.